dust is yet to settle after the prefectural order that was issued by the senior divisional officer from Fundi Division Center region of Cameroon, threatening to expel anybody who would be considered a troubleshooter, disrespecting the institutions of the nation and the person who incarnates them in the person of the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Paul Biya. The standards of our education and public and other examinations have come under greater scrutiny across many spheres in Cameroon. This evening we're going to be asking the question as to what could be done to rebuild confidence and credibility in our public and other examinations, especially when it comes to competitive examinations in Cameroon. Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime on My Media Prime TV. We are discussing on these two topics with panelists who are with me in the studio. We have Dr. Micheal Ndimancho, who is a lecturer with some universities in Cameroon. Good evening, Doctor. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leo. I'm happy to be here. Please permit me greet someone who is very dear to me and very dear to Prime R2. Mr. Kum Leonard, who's a dear for Tombel.
Okay.
He's a favorite watcher of our program every evening.
They should invite us to Tombel now.
Of course, he has been talking about that. It's just as if there's some telepathy, because he has been talking about
It's because his name is also Leonard.
That's
my Mbombo.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about it. Yeah, so it's a deal for Tombel, and we'll send him a very special greetings for the good job he's doing. With the Anglophone crisis, as an administrator, is managing it so well, and there's really quite some calm in that part of the country. I greet all the Cameroonians, and especially I want to sympathize with the many accidents that we have in Cameroon, added to the troubles that we have in Cameroon. We have accident, if it's not road accident, we have accident on construction sites, and all the other things are adding to the problems that we have in Cameroon. And I really want to ask Cameroonians and greet them in a very special way, ask them to be patient and to be vigilant so that we do not get into issues that are even above God to solve. Thank you so much.
We also are in the company of Professor Mark Anthony. You're now an apostle, so? That's a new title I just discovered. Mark Anthony, we're glad to have you.
It is a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Leonard, and I want to appreciate Dr. Ndimancho, who was here before I even came. I also want to greet Cameroonians this evening, as well as Africans watching at us. It is a pleasure to be here and to discuss on the topics that we have there. I want to send a special greeting to His Majesty, the fond of Kejom Kichingu, and His Majesty the fond of Kejom Keku. They are the emblems of authority in the land of Kejom, and it is very important to salute them as well as to salute the people of Kejom wheresoever they are.
Yes, Kejom Kichingu and Kejom Keku. What's the difference?
Not really different, but two separate villages.
They speak the same language?
Yes, the same people. We just...
Okay, one brother said, I'm creating
Princes
my village.
decided to go create their own village.
Okay, we are also awaiting the arrival into our studios of Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. Indicated almost an hour ago that he was on his way. I'm sure he's caught in traffic. We pray that he beats traffic to join us in the course of this program. We start with the official and competitive examinations. Fair assessment of what we have today as competitive and official examinations in Cameroon.
Well, examination per se is supposed to actually be a test of knowledge, as we think, because there is no other thing that measures, there is no other barometer that measures progress in studies apart from an examination. Because if they were, other people should have been using it. Even though people use different parameters to test students on progression. But I think examination has come to be one of those real measurements that institutions use, and even governments, they use in recruiting people. And if we talk about examinations and competitive exams in Cameroon, I would think that in recent years, we have had quite a lot of issues concerning competitive exams, into professional schools and all of those. Partly because there is what we call, they define, the Cameroon government wanted to put in place, they call it a regional balance. They call it, giving a fair share to everyone from the regions, the 10 regions, to be able to be included in the higher institutes of learning. And this issue of balance has brought in a lot of issues, in that examination has not now become the test of knowledge. Now examination become much more political in Cameroon than we perceive. That is the first thing that I will talk about, that examination has become much more political, because now there are politicians that decide how many people come in when it comes to public exams in Cameroon, how many people come from each region. And if they decide that perhaps 100 persons come from each region in a single exam, it means that those who don't even meet up with the average that is required are still taken. And you know what that causes when it comes to, giving out to the government, giving out to the country in terms of savoir-faire. And if you take somebody who is just average and force him to study what he is not competent in doing, you know the result that is going to be. Secondly, the issue of examination and regional balance has brought in now a lot of tribalism, whereby you have some regions, some barons of some regions, who impose that since some of those institutions are pinned in their regions, they must have a reasonable quota of their children who go in and who succeed in court, and who finally are taken in the final list of the exams. But then, exams being what it is, we have heard of exam even starting from the primary to the secondary and to the higher education, whereby you find most children do not more study for exams, because with the advent of the tools, social media tools, many people think that they can be able to trick and have answers and pass exams through some fishy ways. During our days, when we were growing up, we used to talk about speculations, whereby you cram, you cram, and then at the end of it all, you fail. Sometimes they say speco fails, because people valued exams. But today, we've had issues of children who get in the exams room unprepared, who don't even prepare to go in for exams. And what happened in the exams room is, you see that with the complicity of even the examiners, there is a lot of cheating and a lot of, not really competition, but you find that children are not really up to the task as far as exams are concerned. So when we look at the issue that is happening in Cameroon today, since exam has not become has ceased to become the test of knowledge, a lot of issues are coming forth. And now if this is reflecting in the output that we have in Cameroon in general, because when you force children to get into the level where they are not supposed to be, you understand that the output is going to be what it is. We have also had cases whereby people bribe to pass an exam. A lot of people bribe to pass an exam. And this issue of bribe now continues, even after graduation. What happens is that when you teach children that they can buy an exam, what happens is that after completion of exam, when they start working, they understand that this issue is a practice that is endemic and that they have to continue. So that notwithstanding, we still have some good standards about exam, where we have children who actually study in exam. I remember in years back when the GCE was out, for example, they used to bring out the highest children who have had highest points in exam. And media, they project them. And of course, it used to be so lovely, and that was the beauty of examination. So we see children who are really bent on giving to the country, or giving to themselves, giving to their parents, giving to their families. Actually, that dignity that exam is supposed to bring. But in a nutshell, I think that exam is becoming really something else. As I said, that it is no longer becoming the test of knowledge, and people are understanding that you can do just anything to get away with. That exam per se is now becoming something like a toy that people are toiling with. That exam is coming, and we do not hear again about the fever of exam, the exam fever, as we used to say. You find children who are preparing for exam, and they spend their time in bars. Have youths who spend their time in bars, and they're writing exam the next day. We do not have children who put their legs in water, and stay up the whole night studying for exam, because they know now that with exam they can do anything to go away with. So I think the issue of exam now has a lot of mixed feelings, and there is no certainty about the output that comes out after the exams that we have in Cameroon today.
Okay. Your net assessment also of what we have as exams are today, Professor Mark Anthony, a true reflection of the knowledge that the children have, or they study very little compared to what some of us did, or our parents.
To begin with, examinations are not a true test to intelligence. Creativity is the true test to intelligence. Certification is not a true purpose of education. Productivity is the true purpose of education. And quoting Albert Einstein, he said, creativity is intelligence with fun. The question is, if we have to use the various tests that I just mentioned here as a true measure of our students, will our focus be to create productive students as well as creative students, or will we be excited in producing thousands and thousands of students with little productivity? At the end of the day, we are in Cameroon, and Cameroon is where anything is possible. There is a popular saying which I will quote that says, "Un Camerounais, impossible n'est pas Camerounais." Just from that statement tells you it is possible for anything to happen in this nation called Cameroon. When I saw the topic of discussion, I actually took some time to reflect and ask myself, when I was going to school, for example, before I wrote the O levels and the advanced level, what was my interest? Today, the motivation of schooling are jobs. The motivation for schooling is to have a matriculation number, and that is one of the greatest failures of education. When you educate a person, the person is supposed to end up becoming a productive citizen, and not one who needs to depend on the same government for a job. And so the job-oriented education that we have in Cameroon has become our greatest limitation, and that is why we train children with the purpose of giving them certificates, even if they will end up not being productive, even if they lack intelligence. And at the end of the day, we will keep on blaming one side. Most of the times, Mr. Leo, I want to say we have a problem in that we keep on complaining, but never actually putting strategies to shift from the positions in which we find ourselves. And that is where there is a serious problem, because I think the job of education is not solely dependent on the various institutions that have been put in place. It also depends on the parents as well as the entire community where the students are schooling. And if that be the environment and the manner in which education is considered, then there will be productivity in our various communities. And that, I think, it is time for the Cameroon government to regulate the whole idea of examinations. We are not out to say that students should not be evaluated. Evaluation is very important to know and to have an understanding of the concepts, to know if the students have an understanding of the concepts given to them. But if their evaluation is meant to keep them, or say to give them an end, then there's a problem. The evaluation is just a means towards an end. And until we understand it from that perspective, we will keep on creating this kind of chaotic situation in which we find in the nation, where individuals freely give out examination answers to students who are going in for an examination. They sell an exam before the children come into right. You do not expect that such a child should in any way step out to claim he is intelligent or he passed an exams, because he was actually given the response to the exams before he came in. Apart from that, Mr. Leo, we have a critical situation where in Cameroon today, before children go to sit in an examination room, the same exam questions they were supposed to answer had been presented to them in classrooms, and so they do not have any time to study. They are not seeking for knowledge. They are practically going to answer a piece of paper that will be presented to them so that they can have a certificate, so that they can end up have a job. And that is very, very problematic. The question I should be asking our stakeholders involved in education is, are you actually thinking you are preparing a better future for this nation, or you are preparing its destruction through the kind of practices that we now hear in our various institutions? I think it is time for the Cameroon government to do what is needed to produce the future that we need. The various educational institutions should be able to give us the best. And I think the idea of regional balance that Dr. Ndimancho mentioned should never be a means through which individuals should be employed. I think the level of productivity should be the means through which people are employed, which implies their creativity should be tested to know if they are productive, irrespective of where they are coming from, before they can fit in an office to work for the nation. Okay. If not, we will be creating a dangerous future for our young people today.
Okay, we're already living what we've experimented for the past decade. We have just been joined by Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, National President of the Reform Party. So many of you have been asking after him, where has he been? And I've done severally, I've called for people to vote for who they think could be their president. Many names have been mentioned alongside his own. We're glad to have him in the studio with us.
Good evening, Mr. Kum. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here again today. Good evening to my fellow panelists, Dr. Ndimancho, Professor Makantoni. Good evening to Reform Party members and sympathizers the whole world over, and in Cameroon, of course. Now, the topic for the day, official competitive examination and official examinations. What should be done to enhance credibility and fairness? Now, let's take the competitive exams first, then we'll go to the official ones. If you look at competitive exams, we had about a month or two ago, some senior gendarmerie personnel came out to say there are about 1,000 fraudulent certificates in the gendarmerie. Now, that shows you there is a problem with the competitive exam that ushered in these fellows into this force. So we have to look at that first of all. What do you do to make competitive exams credible, first of all. Now, I think that before you launch a competitive exam, you should first of all collect the qualifications of those who are applying to compete and verify their authenticity. If you look at even what the Cameroon Bar Association just organized, you will see that the period between the time when the exam was launched and when candidates actually sat was not enough to enable whosoever to consult the various academic institutions where these candidates claim to have obtained their diplomas to ascertain whether they are authentic or not. So I think that the first thing to be done is that the period between which the exams are launched and when they are actually sat should be enough to enable the authorities controlling this exam to verify the authenticity of the diplomas presented by the aspirants. Secondly, in the competitive exam, they tell you that these exams are characterized by what they call regional balancing.
That is the focus. I wanted you to focus on that.
They say it is characterized by regional balancing, and under the guise of this regional balancing, you will find one region taking the bulk of about 80% and allowing the rest, the other 9, to divide 20%. How do they do that? Well, they will tell you that somebody who studied in English in University of Boya is an Anglophone. And despite the fact that he is from a different region, they take him and put under the Anglophone region and count him as, you see. So that is a means of cheating. It's a means of cheating. I think that competitive exams should not have one center. We should have centers in all the regions. Let every region have its candidates competing in that region. And then from there now, we shall, if you say you want 10-10, let the first 10 come. Let the first 10 be taken and sent now to the orals. That will permit us to have a fair competitive exam.
Each region should be given it a quota to provide.
That is it. Not just a quota. You should organize, you should have a center. Each region should have a center. And that center should produce the quota that is required. That way, we shall not have people telling us stories of 80% from one region, 20 to be shared by 9. Now, we go now to the official exams. Yeah. We are told that when people get their, let me take the Francophone examination, baccalaureate, and they go out, let's say they go to France, the French people prefer the Chadian baccalaureate to the Cameroonian baccalaureate. That means the baccalaureate from Cameroon is less credible in the eyes of the French than the Chadian baccalaureate. So what do you do? What do you do to save this situation? Let's go back now to the ABCs. It is common knowledge that when these exams are organized, we see it. Let's start from even from BPC. You go to the marking centers, you see parents lined up outside. You think that you are doing those things, other people are not seeing you. Parents are lined up outside, waiting to influence the markers so that their children can be given pass marks. Please, when this is done, the other people see you, and of course, when you bring those diplomas to their country, they tell them we are not taking it. This thing has no value. Because they saw the way the exam was conducted. So you see, we should learn to conduct our exams in such a manner that there is no interference from any parent. There is no favoritism in favor of any candidate. In fact, I was privileged as a third-year student in the Faculty of Law to work at the GCE Secretariat. And I saw how the GCE exam was marked. A lot of credit to these people, but I will tell you, there is some negative aspect that still lingers until today. After all the scripts were because for the marking, first of all, you have to
code them.
You code them so that nobody knows whose script is marking. Now, when they were all uncoded and the marks tallied, I was shocked that senior officials of the ministry came and said, this is my candidate, he or she must pass. I would not want to give names because people will start shivering in their beds. But it was very senior officials. You see, so it is a cause for concern. Why people who are trusted by the state to organize an exam should be the very ones who come to make candidates who have failed obtain a pass. That's very bad. And you see it in later life, because when these people go now to the market, they will not be able to defend that certificate that they obtained, that was given to them. Like my brother here was saying, you have the certification, but you don't have the aptitude that goes with it. So we should be very careful with these official exams. Reform Party thinks that what prevails today is that you have different curricula in different schools. It's not very healthy, because you cannot ascertain whether the same level of education at a certain degree prevails throughout the national territory. So we think that whether you call yourself American school and you are using a syllabus, that syllabus must be the same syllabus that all other schools are using. There should be no cheating. Don't bring your own syllabus, say I'm taking my own from University of London, while other people here are studying with syllabuses from Ministry of Education. Everybody should have the same thing. Now, what we want to propose as a change is that the setting of the exam and the marking of the exams should not be reserved only for official exams. All terminal exams should be treated the same way as the national exam. That's to say, the scripts should be coded before being marked, and no teacher should mark the scripts of the children he's teaching. So you swap the schools and code the scripts and have an objective marking so that these children will learn, because we have seen in schools parents who pay teachers to make their children pass. They say they're defending the family name. My child came out first. Yes, your child came out first, but the head is too hollow. How far will you keep pushing the child? So you see, when you introduce this system where a teacher from a different school will have to mark the script of children in your school, and he does not even know which child's script he's marking, there is no way he can favor X or Y. That way we shall know the true strength of the pupils or the students. Now, when it comes to the national exam, these students will have a plus, because they will no longer have examination fever, because they have been used to writing their exams and having them marked like the national exam. So you will build up confidence in the students so that you will not have them shivering before the exam. Again, malpractices, examination malpractices. There will be no reason for any student to go sit and want to copy from a book. Because the tendency is that when you want to copy from a book, you know that you are somewhere counting on the fact that the person who taught you that thing knows what he taught. And when you copy like that, you will recognize his teachings and give you marks. Lies. Examination centers have to be put under camera like a CGC board doing. The students should be spaced out so that there is no way you cast a glance on your neighbor's script. The students should be searched before they enter the hall, so as to make sure that nobody is carrying on him or her anything from which he can copy. Let us have a true assessment of what is inside the skull of these children, so we can know what value to give to the certificate they are taken. Now, when you are finished now with the examination process, we have a problem, a very serious one in this country: the certification. This one goes to do with the credibility I want to tell you that, look, people like, since our time, all those who studied in the University of Yaoundé, not up to 5% have certificates. Not up to 5% of those who study in these Cameroon universities have certificates. Everybody has an attestation of success. I said, up to now, that's what I'm saying. You see, when you go now with your attestation of success to some foreign university, what credibility do you want a university to give to an attestation? Instead of you presenting a certificate. You see, so we think that this problem is caused by the fact that the authorities that be, the government is standing aloof and watching education drive down the river. We think that the various authorities in the country should be implicated in this process. If, for instance, the Prime Minister is supposed to sign the GCA level, everybody knows that it is the Prime Minister who has to issue this GCA level. I don't see how Mr. Prime Minister will not issue these certificates. He will do it. And if he does it, if you present that certificate, that GC advanced level, go to a foreign country and present a Cameroon GC advanced level signed by the Prime Minister, are they going to respect it or not? You have the answer. Now, if you say all the university degrees should be signed by the Secretary General to the Presidency, and then the President himself can sign the PhD, you are giving more value to your certificates. I mean, some high official in the state should sign these things, so that when you take them outside, people will say, oh yes, the state has recognized this certificate. So I think that is what we can do to enhance credibility of these official certificates that we issue.
Okay, we want us to look at the competitive examinations into mostly public schools, when many persons no longer believe in it, and I think that until you have some amount to buy a space in them, you cannot have access. How do we change this mindset to make them assure Cameroonians that everybody has the same opportunity to get into the BD, EMIA, ENAM, ENS, irrespective of their background?
Okay. Yeah, there are lots that we have to do. I usually say that education has so much been commercialized.
Okay.
Education has been left in the hands of business moguls. So anything happens, you know, and people believe that because you have money, you have to buy the way for your child. I mean, tomorrow. I don't want to call names, but we have had a lot of issues in Cameroon here whereby people who are not even educated, people who don't even know, because when you look at schools in the first place, most schools like in big towns are run by people who never went to school and who don't even know what school is all about. So they are mainly concentrated on the business part of it. Now, talking about merit, because this is what we are talking about merit, writing exams and then coming out and actually enjoying, you know, from the talents or from the intellect, from the intelligence that they have used, from the knowledge that you have used to be able to write that exam. It is very important. Then we have to look at the way we organize these exams. You realize that in most public exams, especially in high institutions like EMIA, ENAM, all those things, where most people fail is at the orals. You should begin to ask yourself questions. Most people write the written part and they pass. It is at the orals that they fail. And then you begin to ask yourself, how is it that they, and when you ask them, what kind of a question do they ask you at the orals that with all what you wrote in the written part, you excel, you pass so well, and then it's at the orals that you fail? I remember there's somebody who told me that when he went for the orals, the examiner asked him, who sent you? You came from who? That was the question that they asked from the orals. Who sent you, or you are under who? Meaning that it has been categorized.
Who is backing you?
Who is backing you? That is the meaning of that. That who is backing you? That is the question that they ask him when he passed the written part to go to ENAM, and they ask him, who is backing you? Who sent you? You are under who? And you see, these are the kind of things, and that's why I'm saying that education, these exams have been monetized. and in such a way that, because there is a lot of money, because when we look at the aftermath of all of these, whereby you go to Enam, you go to EMEA, all of this, you come out with the advantages that people have, and who people are not even checked, and that people, somebody comes out for Enam, or you become a custom today, and within 3 years, you already having skyscrapers. And people think that they can invest in that. It has become a business where people want to invest in that. Invest so that their children get through that and come out to be what they are tomorrow. So we have to be able to check among the moral rectitude of all those who are supposed to be supervising all of these exams. Because the fact is that most of those people who supervise these exams are those who pass through those ways. Let me tell you, in Cameroon, when you have somebody who is so much strict on certain issues, know that the person is a mediocre. That is what is happening in Cameroon. That most people who have bought their ways through are the people who are controlling these things. And actually, normally, they will allow some of these practices to go through. And we have allowed education. We don't check what is happening within the framework of examination. Imagine that, for example, you are authenticating a certificate and you got your GC, and you are supposed to be authenticated at GC board. You send a child to go to the DO to authenticate your GC certificate, and then at the end of it, when you write, people go and forge things, and when they write, you come and tell them these are fake documents. But fake documents which have been authenticated by the DO. How do you authenticate your educational certificate at the DO's office? These are some of the issues. And now we've seen that the government to organize some of these exams in order to make money through fiscal stamps. Yeah, it's not ready because they actually want to organize this exam. So, and Senior Barrister raised something about the regional, allowing the regions to organize these exams, which is important. This will only be true if the regional assemblies are allowed to do their job. And this is one of the responsibilities of the regional assemblies, that they know the quota of people that they could send, could be able to give to the national, body. And the people live in a centralized government to go and organize some of these things at the region, and they do not know exactly where the region is lacking. So the regions need to be given, need to be empowered. Their prerogatives need to be allowed. They need to allow them to exercise their powers. So I think that the issue of examination and making examination credible takes a lot of stakeholders. Stakeholders need to come together. Now, I've talked about the magics of the auras, whereby the auras is becoming the magic of examination, which is not supposed to be. So those who are controlling exams are supposed to be checked. Just like when we are talking about the bilingualism commission and all anti-corruption and all those things, they say that there are people of moral rectitude. I think that those who are adventurous are not supposed to be in the educational sector, even though in Cameroon corruption has become so endemic in such a way that everybody is contaminated, even without even getting into, So I think we need to check some of these things, that education should be left to competent people, and not just anybody who is picking the quota. Because as long as you are in a government office, one of the things I want to do is, there's this issue of nepotism, favoritism. You get your own to sit in and control exam, even things that are not their competence. You find people who are not in their competence, they are controlling. So we need to check some of these things. The moral attitude of people need to be checked. And therefore, children, if we are in a community which is competitive, I think that everybody would love to see children who are intelligent, who are competitive, if we love the country. Another issue is that we do not love the country. We want to form half-baked people because we do not believe in the country advancing. Like a writer writes, chop a chop, country spoil. This is what we are. Ayimkwe Ama of the beautiful ones of Yerbon wrote that, whereby people care less about the advancement. You go to an office and somebody tells you, is it my office, is it my father's house? Means that he has the largest to do just anything and go away with, since it is not his father's house. And therefore, until we begin to develop the interest for the country, and knowing that tomorrow, what we are producing now as students who are supposed to go into these schools are children who are supposed to bring out, develop the economy of the Cameroon, the social and moral rectitude of the country, then we are failing. In as much as we only think about the now, because I usually say that Cameroonians think only about the now. In as much you think only about the pocket, what the student will give you at the end of this examination about your PGM and all of those things, then Cameroon will never move forward.
Okay, it will never move forward. Regional balance and a host of other things for these examinations. So many persons have been crying foul that they buy space into some of these schools. Why has it been difficult for some open sanctions to be meted out to give the impression that the government wants to fight that, or these are mere speculations or rumors?
I remember, I think it's 2 years back, there's an NAM exam that was written, and I think about 12 or so, if you looked at the list that came out, over 80% of those who were actually given chances, allocated chances for to study in a NAM, came from one region.
We talked about it here.
Yes,
there is a situation of the list for the current list for EMEA.
For EMEA.
Where there's a student who didn't write.
There's a student that they claim did not write, and majority are also coming from a particular
region. You see, that is enough already to send out this information to the people that the so-called idea of regional balance is fake. Maybe it worked in the days of Aijo, but today it is not working. First, there's an African proverb that says that a neck that carries an empty head will suffer. When we take individuals with little or nothing, no knowledge, no credibility, and give them the opportunity, for example, to go through EMEA, to come tomorrow, become military staff. You send some of them to a NAM to come tomorrow to become administrators, custom officers, and all that. What kind of nation are we building? Indirectly, we are forging for ourselves the destruction of the future Cameroonians, because such individuals with nothing in their heads have to cause the entire population to suffer. And that is why in our next topic we will be seeing a direct proof of this kind of formation, where individuals are picked out without any knowledge, then given the opportunity to come and insult Cameroonians within the nation.
Yeah,
and this is terrible, Mr. Leo.
Yeah, we can also conclude that they have no knowledge.
No, when I talk like this,
if you have no knowledge, you won't move from
Mr. Leo,
nursery to high school to university before.
Mr. Leo, it is possible to have knowledge, but all knowledge, you might have obsolete knowledge and think you have knowledge. And if you discover very well, we have been made to understand that after every 18 months, knowledge becomes obsolete. So if that is the case, it means before you even graduate out of ENAM, what you are having in your head is useless. Before you graduate from any school, what you are having in your head is useless for the community, based on the progressive nature of our society. And so this becomes a challenging situation where we end up with the wrong people in the right places. If we have to talk about credibility today, Mr. Leo, credibility hangs on the value of integrity. And integrity is something that is actually missing in our communities today. If you heard what Dr. Ndimancho mentioned here, talking about corruption being so crowned that it is difficult for you to enter into any environment without having corrupt people, which implies that even the children we are giving birth to, in one way or the other, are influenced by the corrupt values of the society.
Okay.
And this is coming from our institutions. And we are talking about competitive exams. You can't have regional balance being the determining factor for competitiveness. It is not possible. And so we come back to use I would say I love the strategy brought in by senior barrister, mentioning the fact that he will prefer that these competitive exams should be handed back to the regions, who for themselves can be able to select those who they think are competent. And when you pick out the competent ones, they should be able now to go serve the nation. If that was the case, then we will not be talking about this kind of situation we are having right now in EMEA and other past situations we have experienced. So I think, Mr. Leo, it is time for us to really think. This kind of debates are important for the progress of this nation. Thank you for these questions. Okay, Senior Barrister, I want to end this topic with you. How do we give back credibility and fairness to these institutions from our homes? Because when they say that if nobody is there to corrupt, the guys will, corruption starts from he who initiates now. That's true.
Mr. Leo, thank you very much. Dr. Ndimancho said something that I think we should examine.
Okay.
The competitive exams are in two phases, the written and the oral. We've almost lost sight of that oral part, which is a cankerworm. It's actually the cankerworm that eats up the whole edifice. Now, let us look at the raison d'etre of the oral. It is thought that after the written part, the candidates should be able to express themselves. Now, if you look at this aspect of things, you see that that reasoning is discriminatory. Because in our society, we have people, some people who are handicapped, who cannot talk. They hear, but they cannot talk. They are very intelligent. They will answer all the questions. So you mean to say that that type of person should be kept aside because
he cannot express
himself vocally? No. You see, that is bad. So I think that the oral part should be scrapped off. And to answer your question, if the person corrupting does not know who to corrupt, will there be corruption? Now, when these exams are launched, the excuse that they give you is that it is too expensive to run several centers. Professor Makantoni gave me a very good answer here. We have the regions. Tell the regions to bear the cost of running the centers.
If they are empowered.
Just tell them, please, these are the questions. Give us your candidates that have passed in your area. That way, nobody will complain that you spend too much money. True. And you will see that the place where the school is found is in a region. That region will have just 1/10. If they want to make corruption in their own region, it will not affect the whole country. So the answer is that all the regions should be empowered to run their own centers and present their quota of candidates. That way, there is no possibility for anybody to go sit and swap names. If Southwest has sent 10 people and they have their list that is published, there is no way any person can remove that list, remove somebody from that list. So if you have that practice in place, I guarantee you that nonsense of selling places will end. Because if every region says its own list, who will you ask money from? Nobody. So I think that is what can be done to make these exams credible. Not also forgetting the control part. You must verify the authenticity of the diplomas that these people are producing, so that you don't have fake diplomas. You don't come to the world about 2 years or 3 years after you have paid salaries. You have cost Ministry of Finance to pay salaries. You can't tell us that you have discovered that there are 1,000 fake diplomas.
Okay, after
that's what we think can be the solution.
Okay, after this first topic, we move straight to our second topic to look at an issue that is raising so much dust in Cameroon. as we speak with many politicians airing their views with respect to what the senior divisional officer from Fundi did through an order, prefectural order, though he has come out to clarify his the order. But your first, I want to start with the legal mind. Yes, your first reaction as national president of your party. I don't know, I did not see an official note from your party, but how did you receive it at the level of your party?
Well, we didn't issue an official note, but we were on Balafon television live to
Can I just read the order?
Go ahead.
The prefectural order says, any person who calls for an uprising against the institutions of the Republic dangerously insults the institutions or the person who embodies them by any means of communication followed in the Fundi division, undertakes maneuvers that could lead to serious disturbances to public order. Article 2, this measure does not apply to persons detained in a remand center. I don't know, this was a Google translation, so the wordings may not be too exact. Article 3 says this order, which also aims to protect the education of young people and guarantee public order, will be communicated wherever necessary. Yes.
Yeah. After studying the communique issued by this the SDO, I realized that he was trying to implement the provisions of law number 90/054 of 19th December 1990 on the maintenance of law and order. That law states in its section 2, if you, with your permission, powers of the administrative authorities. Section 2, administrative authorities may, at all times and depending on the circumstances, take the following measures within the framework of operations for the maintenance of law and order. Dash, control the movement of persons and goods. Let me just leave the rest because that is the one that interests him. So, of all the texts that he has cited, you see that this is the only one that gives him a semblance of authority to do what he did. So this law on the maintenance of law and order says that the administrative authority can take measures to control the movement of persons and goods and property. Oh, and goods, because not property is you have movables and immovables. So we now see that he has cited a number of cases. He says people who are calling for uprising against
the institution of the Republic.
All right. I will not want to waste the viewers.
And people who dangerously insult the institution.
I don't want to waste viewers' time. Let us just look at the thing straightforward. You take the first one. People who call for an uprising. That is a felony. Is it within the jurisdiction of a senior divisional officer to reprimand anyone for calling for an uprising? Question number one. Number two, does calling for an uprising cause in any way the disturbance of maintenance of law and order? If you answer to the positive, we shall continue. When somebody stands up and say, like we have had it here in this country, somebody stood up and say, oh, let us go and remove this man from a 2D. If nobody takes to the street to go remove that man, will law and order break down? Would there be a breakdown of law and order? So this is something which is a felony and which falls within the jurisdiction of the criminal courts, the military court, the high court, the special criminal court, if you want. Well, the high court and the military tribunal. Special criminal court is a court that tries only one offense. So, Mr. SDO has no jurisdiction. He has no local standard to put his nose inside judicial matters. If somebody is calling for uprising, it is not his business. His business is things that cause or provoke the breakdown of law and order.
Yeah, but what if by saying these things, people react to
That's a different thing now. That's the different thing. If you actually cause people to go down, there are other laws that will follow you.
Okay.
Cameroon is a state of law. There are laws. You see, somebody who causes people down, like we had MRC do it. Their people are in prison till today. Some of them are shouting that they are political prisoners. I told them, I said, no, you are common law prisoners. Because you were warned and you continued. The law, they were convicted according to criminal provisions that exist in this country. So again, I say, Mr. SDO has nothing to do with that provision. Now, a person who insults people in authority, the head of state, ministers and all that, does that lead to a breakdown of law and order? No, sir. It is again a misdemeanor that can be taken to a criminal court, and this person can be tried, convicted or acquitted. It is not within the jurisdiction of the SDO. The most ridiculous one is the third one. Can you read us that third one, sir? That is the most ridiculous one.
They say dangerously insults institutions or the person who embodies them by any means of communication followed in the Fundi division. Undertakes maneuvers that could lead to serious disturbances to public order.
Somebody who undertakes maneuvers. That is to say, that may lead. You see, there is no fact on the table that can lead, that can cause breakdown of law order. It is intention. This man is trying to fight intentions, maneuvers that may lead. I mean, even the devil himself knows not the mind of a person. How can Mr. SDO claim that he will know the type of maneuver that can lead to the breakdown of law and order? And let me say that his sentence, that phrase, is contrary to the provisions of the law he thinks he wants to implement. Because this law says that it is when law and order is broken. But he is imagining cases where it can be broken. So we are telling him that he is running a bit faster than the horse.
Okay.
He should slow down and run with the horse.
Okay. He granted an interview to Cameroon Tribune in which he says the senior divisional officer is a guarantor of public order in the department, in the division, and maintaining order is first and foremost a preventive action. The ideal here is that it is better to prevent disorder than to restore order. The action we have taken therefore goes in this direction. He's just wanting to be preventive here. That's what he says.
Well, the law doesn't give him that possibility of being preventive.
I think that being preventive in that sense, I see some kind of fear. You know, there is this, yes, there is this fear for the unknown that the senior divisional officer is making us believe that it's way rooted in the environment and that they want to preempt. Yes, this is actually what he wants to do. And, you know, because there was a sentence he talked about him sending somebody out of the Fundi. Yes. And we are asking yourself, you're sending somebody out of the Fundi. That even goes against some right. And Barrister may clarify on that. There is a UN charter on the...
Even this law that is applying is so
1976 UN charter on civil and political rights. Coupled also with the African Charter 1981 on the Charter on Human and People's Rights, where, I mean, people have the freedom. That is why sometimes I tell people that we fully welcome democracy, and people keep on saying that somebody else brought democracy to Cameroon. We are regretting that it actually came. And, you know, we have always danced in between dictatorship and freedom of association, freedom of speech, and all of that. That stems from the the independence of Cameroon, 1960, 1961, independence of the two Cameroon, 1960 of the French Cameroon, 1961 British Southern Cameroon, whereby there were freedom of association, there were political parties, multipartism. Going to 1966, it became a one-party state. And the argument we had that time was that, no, we have to come together in order to build a nation. There was tribalism, or there was underdevelopment, and therefore we needed to come to say, yes, solidarity, synergize our efforts to build the country. And now we linked again and went forth, going up to maybe 1972, where there was a backpedaling of all of these. Now, I think there is a problem, and there is somebody who is afraid of something that we don't want to say exactly what it is. Cracking down on politicians has been something that a dictatorship, it is unfortunate that we do not learn from signs of the time, because you realize that it is when you even crack down on people that something else happens. But when you allow people sing their songs and say whatever they want to say, as Barrister was saying, if somebody says that, okay, we must take power and this problem must go back to the village in 2025, how does that cause disorder in a breakdown of whatsoever in the country? So I'm just saying, that's why I'm saying that somebody is afraid of something that it is not utterly out to say exactly what is afraid of. If we have adopted that there should be freedom of speech, well, I know that movement too. I know that you can only be free under the law. That is true too. But we have not seen people break things. We have not seen people gone out. Yes, he talks about preventive measures. When did we start taking all these preventive measures? Is it now we are going to start taking the preventive measures? So there is a question mark about it. So we really have to accept that we are in a democracy. Why is it that it is happening only now, some few months to elections? When we know that in 2018, just after the election, about March, getting to 2019, some politicians were weeks off to prison, because people felt that they were disgruntled and they were expressing their minds. Even though Barrister said some people were marching and they were right to weeks them up. But I still think that a lot of things needs to be fixed. And we only see most of these things coming during the elections. Why? Somebody is thinking that there is some fever rising. And because, it is only is an old man or an old woman that is afraid when a mention of bones is made. Why do people fear that they have skeletons in their cupboard? We have been living like this all through. Is this the first time people are making utterances? When somebody stood up and said he stole the elections from the SDF in 1992, nobody said anything. Was that not causing an uprising? And the person is moving freely. That is even supposed to cause an uprising, because that is a crime against the party, the SDF. Then you openly say that, and you openly say under the banner of the party in power, you stole the election of this opposition party. And they are looking at him. That was not enough to cause any uprising. So it is for me, perhaps, to say that, okay, we are going to take Tutu by storm next year. Perhaps that you think that this will cause an uprising. To who? And with who? These are some of the questions that we should start asking. In as much as this is actually something that some of us stand to ask and question, I think that the maintenance of peace is important. That I know. But if the SDO is within his jurisdiction, as Barrister was already telling us legally here that he is not, I think that there is something wrong about it. Why is it that the DOs, these corner questions the functioning of and the authority that these DOs exert on the people? Are the DOs there to maintain, to bring peace, to appease the people, to pacify, or are they there to flare angers? Because already, this looks like a chronicle of things that have happened in recent days. First was the Minister of Territorial Administration, of course, during his with the regional governors, who hammered on the table and hit his hand on the table and mentioned names, warning people directly, Mondo Vision, which of course I was asking myself, how was that called for in his regional meeting? Secondly, Dios are coming in the same light. It is as if it is a succession of something that's happened. Just as we are talking, the Minister of Communication too comes in with his own letter. That's what I'm saying, that somebody has some skeletons in the cupboard. I think that Cameroonians have had much of that, and Cameroonians are known to be very peaceful, peace-loving people. In countries whereby you have real dictatorship, we have a lot of things happening. But in Cameroon, where they find people, usually I call most of us, all of us, zombies, because we do not act. We are just looking at things happen. But why is it that it is as if you have a wound, and then somebody is just there each day to pinch the wound? He wants blood to ooze out. He's pinching the wound. He wants blood to ooze out. It appears as if some of these people, inadvertently, this is what they are doing. Because I think that even anybody who is responsible for this country should be able to take these people to task. Because it's like they are pushing people to the wall. You know, when you push somebody to the wall, what happens? And coming back, he spits venom. This is what happens. We have had countries that are having uprisings, and we have not had, Cameroon being this peaceful, even though people who have been pushed really to the wall, and they have accepted all the increments of prices, and the people are just looking at you. Petrol prices, the style of life rising, everything rising, and people are just looking at you. But then you sit and you say that, why are these people just quiet? I do anything, they are just looking at me. I do anything, they are just looking at me. Then it gives you now, the authority to come back and be able to push them further to the wall. I think that somebody must stop this.
Okay, the senior division officer in that interview say, out of modesty, I would not like to speak of insults. This type of behavior disrupts the peace of more than one person. If you follow the outings of certain guests on television sets or on radio stations, you will feel pity and shame for what some call freedom of expression. I'm sure he's trying to talk about the fact that democracy is not also anarchy. Do you also think that there are excesses on some of the outings of for you guys? Yeah, because that is also.
Let's be sincere, Mr. Leo. That doesn't still fall under his jurisdiction. Even if I say whatsoever I say on TV, it is not the SGO's responsibility. Who takes responsibility for what I say is the CNC. And when CNC slams, he does not slams you. Not me.
You go free. It's me.
Their focus is now. Can be slammed.
No. Most often,
they target the houses and the journalists.
We have been caught.
Yeah, because so they work under them.
When it is somebody who reports about your outing to them, so when we are reported, they call the presenter and the boss. So I mean, wear two caps. I've gone there even when I was not the one who said it, but I've been also called. So you guys go free, but it's also
so. That is the job of the CNC, not the job of the senior divisional officer. And if we have to look at what he is trying to justify himself with there, you further go to see that he has some bones in the cupboard. In fact, there's a lot of darkness that is roaming around the corner. These individuals who are supposed to be administrators and are supposed to be friendly, working for the good of the communities, are indirectly pushing towards an uprising.
These officials,
I said,
this individual,
and this that's not the only person who have mentioned such a thing.
Yeah, so you are calling all of them.
No, not all. This is, I said, this official. Okay, sorry if I made an error.
It could be an uncle.
This
God.
You see, Mr. Leo, in a nutshell, what I'm saying here is, irrespective of whosoever they are, coming out to make such declarations, sending out communiques of that nature, is an indirect way of telling individuals, go ahead and do it. Because I know very well, when a child sits and there is no law or nothing that pushes the child to do something, the child will do nothing. But when you tell the child, don't touch this, indirectly you just showed the child what the child is supposed to touch. And I think that is what the senior divisional officer just did. He just went ahead to tell the people, you people should be awaiting for more danger. So prepare yourselves. And it is unfortunate that he's speaking to a group of people who love peace. Cameroonians are peaceful, loving people, law-abiding people. For generations, I will tell you from, I experienced 1990 and 1992 life on the ground. Participated in stoning and doing all those things, blockage of roads and all that.
You?
that was an experience I had in Bamenda town. You see, we have seen things, and in 2008 we saw another degree of uprising that almost happened, almost brought Cameroon to a state of standstill, and we saw the reaction of the government. I don't think that Cameroonians who are now aware that laws have been brought in to fight against the 1990 laws that were made for peaceful expression, who carry themselves and jump into a river that can swallow them.
Which law has been brought in?
The terrorism law will not permit you to go out to the streets and break anything.
Yeah, so they are already existing.
Those laws are already there to push you to a state where you will not want to go out to go and misbehave. And so let these laws help direct Cameroonians, not the voice or the communiques, the letters of SGO.
Okay.
The SGO is walking out of his office. What he just did was go out to create a problem where there was no problem. Indirectly, he provoked Cameroonians, which is dangerous, and telling Cameroonians, whom by the constitution gives them free right to be anywhere, to be, as a citizen of Cameroon, you have the right to be to have a domicile anywhere in the nation.
Yeah, but it did not say
Provision. No, when you say you chase people out of Fundi, then you chase people out of Fundi.
People who are unruly now.
No, you cannot chase them.
Okay.
You don't have the capacity to chase them out of Fundi, because by the constitution they have the right to be where they are
And do whatever they want.
They can do whatsoever they want, but the laws will face the laws, not the SGO. So let the SGO take his office and work within his office. Let him stop jumping into people's offices. That's the work of the law.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm Langi Bangi in Bamenda. The MCQ method in Cameroon has made official and competitive examinations incredible. We need serious revision, and the education this time around should be more of technocrats. Good evening, my media prime. It's Triple K writing from Abakwa. I suggest the government should make computer a compulsory subject from primary to higher level. This will shift Cameroon from job seekers to create job. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kum. The problem we have as far as education is concerned in Cameroon is the type of curriculum we use in our country. Okay. Dear Mr. Leo and team, I am Jacob from Bamenda. The Ministry of Defense recently detected 1,312 fake certificates during the recent recruitment to the military. This is only one case. What about all the other recruitments in the country? Did the other ministries check the authenticity of the certificates during recruitment? This is a reflection of how rotten our education system is. People are more concerned with having a certificate than gaining knowledge. That is why many students do everything to have their papers now, no matter whether they acquire the required knowledge or skills. Not many schools, especially private institutions, promote this attitude. Private institutions of higher learning are found everywhere. Some with very poor infrastructure means soup needs to sit up. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm so much excited with the expose of senior barrister. This is because most professional schools in Cameroon are mostly of French-speaking students. Even the just created National School of Local Administration, NASLA in Boya, only French-speaking are in the school. Okay, Mr. Bacha. Good evening, Mr. Kum. You and your panelists are doing a great job. Kudos. Ampan Keng Yafe in Bangolang Baptist Health Center. Good evening, Mr. Kum and the entire panelists. Thanks for adding more knowledge to my household, because all that which I am telling them on daily basis, your program always acts as a confirmation to all what I have been telling them. More grace to you and your guests on Prime News. Thank you. I'm watching from mile 14 Boya. I beg to differ with Senior Barrister on the issue of interviews. There are professions that need that you should be able to express yourself well. Without interviews, you can employ a person who will not deliver, no matter how intelligent they are. Yes, but that's not what he said. For specific situations, they could do that. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. But the issue is whether orals are actually done to meet what you just said. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists, especially Senior Barrister, that is doing everything humanly possible for Cameroon to be what everybody would like to be. A good program for today, but I believe that the only God alone can bring a change to this country if the present government is maintained. I wrote ENS, Yaoundé, Marwa, INGS, Yaoundé, and Emir and Enam. But I discovered that merits do not count, but who is your godfather counts. I am a living witness concerning examination malpractices. I discovered that a teacher who are extremely wicked, that contributed sometimes to the failure of students, where at times they ask questions, why is this particular school scoring high, meanwhile it's not a private school. In a teacher of blessed memory, where one suspended, okay, much has to be done, okay, your writing is not so clear. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This our Cameroon today needs deliverance. 3/4 of officers in the country now are those who have godfathers. What can those without godfathers do? Okay, good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Francis from Kribi. The topic of today is so interesting. There is no exams now. You will see a child with an A certificate but cannot address an application form. Let government fight against corruption in education. Mr. Liu, good evening. Watching from Tatum in Kum subdivision. I'm enjoying the program. If we do not value good morals in this country, we will continue to fail. I enjoy the people talking. Let's help our country out because we don't have another one. There should be a clear difference between education and politics. Okay, I will continue to quote the senior divisional officer. The senior divisional officer says he cannot be an obstacle to the exercise of freedoms. On the contrary, it is to ensure that these freedoms are exercised without hindrance. Do you think that the freedom to come and go can still be effective when there is an uprising against institutions, or when we no longer respect these institutions? Here, it's a question of reconciling public order and public freedoms, because without the first, the latter are impossible. He made this outing. We had the president of the National Communication Council simply coming out to also decry what some of you guys do. And today, the Minister of Communication has also issued a statement in that respect. I don't know whether I should read what the Minister of Communication said. Let me see if I can stumble on it. Okay, this government communication on the upsurge of injurious statements against the institutions of the Republic and those who embody them. Cameroon wants to be a democracy and a state of law. We owe this major evolution of our country in the area of freedom after long years of monolithism to the will and resolute commitment of the President of the Republic, His Excellency, President Paul Biya. Also, after several decades of experimentation and political maturation, Cameroon can today congratulate itself on the remarkable progress made in this area. The proliferation of press organs, radio and television channels, the multiplicity of political groups that exercise freely, as well as the freedom of speech, which is one of the incontestable characteristics, testify to the effectiveness and vitality of our democracy. In other words, Cameroonians express themselves without any constraints, approve or disapprove of the actions of public authorities, and make their points of view known on all questions relating to the life of the nation. However, the freedom of which we take pride today more than yesterday cannot give anyone the latitude to attack the institutions of the Republic. The issue here is attacking. Seemingly, when you follow the SDO, you follow the President of the National Communication and now the Minister, it means that there is something that is persistently, maybe you guys spend time insulting the head of state. because that is what they're calling people back to order. In that respect.
Mr. Kum, you see, if you take my example, I would never insult the head of state.
Yeah.
In fact, I had
when he does,
I got into problems with Kamto because I cautioned him to stop insulting the head of state.
Yes, severally, when the president does what according to you is right, you come here and you say yes.
Yes, what he has done, I say this is good, this is bad. Yes, I will not insult him, but I will say, I will comment on the action that have been taken. Now, you see, all these people standing up to talk, they just make me laugh because a minister of communication who comes to tell Cameroonians that they should stop insulting the authorities, does he know the law or doesn't he know the law? We have a legal system in place. We have a criminal procedure code in place. There is a criminal code, penal code in place. What is that Minister of Communications business in the exercise of justice? Authorize, just give the powers to the State Council to prosecute whosoever insults any big man, and you will see what will happen.
Yeah, maybe this
simple. No, it's as simple.
Maybe this is just a call to
no,
order.
Sir, we don't need that call. If they are tired of people insulting the authorities, empower them. Just tell, even by phone call, tell the State Council, prosecute whosoever does this, and you will see how that thing will come to stop. I am saying that it is a matter of laxity. It's laxity because if the State Councils do their job, nobody will continue with this type of misbehavior. We have had cases in the courts here. Panels have been carried to court to go and explain why they use a provocative, insulting language. So what makes this one different? Now, Mr. SDO has just no excuse whatsoever. I will give you legal ground for what I'm saying. With your permission, Mr. Kum,
None.
powers, general provisions of this law number 90/054 of 19 December 1990 to maintain, for the maintenance of law and order. General provision, section 1. This law related to the maintenance of law and order shall lay down the principles to be observed by administrative authorities and forces of law and order in time of peace, to maintain or restore law and order when it is threatened. Where is it said here that he should preempt the disturbance of law and order? Where? There is more. The law even goes on, chapter 3, use of arms. Further, chapter 4, penalties and miscellaneous provisions. Offenses committed in violation of the provisions of section 3, 1, and 4 above shall be punished with penalties provided for in section 275 of the penal code. What is this man's own inside this thing? Even if people commit offenses against maintenance of law and order, this law has taken care of that. Why is he itching? Why? The law that governs that area has provided the penalties. What is his own business? I think that this man, there is something he has to tell the public. Why is he coming out? Now, the last part of it, the sanction that he said there. If you can kindly remind the audience of the sanction that he's promising anybody who comes to his area of jurisdiction to cause trouble. He said he's going to meet out prohibition to stay within the jurisdiction. That's to expel the person.
Yes, the person is going to be asked to leave.
Can Mr. SDO kindly tell Cameroonians which law empowers him to expel somebody from his territory, from his jurisdiction? Can he kindly, I hope he's listening. If he is, let him kindly tell Cameroonians which law empowers him, because this law on maintenance of law and order does not empower anybody to expel anybody from anywhere. It does not even say that somebody should not disrupt law and order. Look, you are free, eh? Go and disrupt, but the law will be applied to you. You are free. That is why this law was put in place to say, if you cause a breakdown of law and order, the administrative authority has the right to take measures to maintain law and order and to restore it. It is not saying here that nobody should do so. You are free. Go and do it. But you face the brunt of the law. be ready to face the wrath of the law. So I don't know why this man wants to legiferate, because what he is doing, he is trying to legiferate. That is, he's adding things to this law that do not exist. And that's why I say, as a lawyer, he should stay within the ambit of the law and not add salt or pepper. We don't need Maggi inside this law for people to understand it.
Many persons see this action as directly concerned with the build-up to elections that are coming up next year. Have you heard many politicians actually come out to condemn what is happening, or they have endorsed? I know that the Cabral Libi came out to condemn it, but we've not heard much from the political class as well as the civil society.
Of course, they are talking, even though we do not have the habit, of organizing conferences in Cameroon, because first of all, for a civil society to organize a conference is still there's still some bottlenecks around it, because you need to ask for authorization.
What stops them from issuing just
press release?
Of course. Ours have not done, because we want to see it clear and understand exactly the context on which that is done. Because when you hurriedly do certain things without knowing exactly why they are done, there is a problem. Because in Cameroon, you need to understand why certain things are done. You now see, reading from the law, there is some conflict of authority there. And therefore, you don't hastily comment on certain things, like somebody say, on a command to parle commentaire. Don't, to me, that what the SDO did is a commentaire. Because it is not in his rightful place to do that. It is like he is power drunk. And therefore, people need to take their rightful places to do things in Cameroon. We do not have, even with government, is there not a way to organize a press conference and then talk to Cameroonians about this? It is important, rather than an SDO, because his jurisdiction is found within the residence of the president of the country. So he feels that he can just get up, as the SDO of the president of the country, and then issue anything. I say it's power drunk because sometimes you do certain things that you are protecting somebody, not knowing that you are putting down the person. Because when you get up and within and out of law, you say certain things without thinking. It means that what? You are creating double problems for the person you are trying to protect. And sometimes there's a boomerang effect.
For the whole nation.
Yes, for the whole nation. And there's a boomerang effect. So there is a problem about it. And there is a fear as it concerns democracy. Even coming to what you are talking about, I do not really see in Cameroon, sometimes we are even lenient. When you look at the United States of America, where Donald Trump tells Biden, calls him Sleeping Joe. He calls him, that's an insult. Yes. You Sleeping Joe, and talks to him on his face. Don't you see democracy? Now, there are certain signs and, pillars that we indicate to us that we are living and partly living in this country. And that we are on the palm of somebody, and that he can blow us off. So there are certain indicative of dictatorship that we really need to be very careful. Julian Malema will sit and insult Jacob Zuma, now Cyril Ramaphosa. But he still ran for the presidential race. But Kamto will do what he did the other time, and then he goes to prison. He goes and makes some whatever he has done there, and now he's crying foul today. So I think that there is a problem that we have with democracy in Cameroon. In France, somebody even slaps the president and goes scot-free. Are we ignorant to all of these? So why is somebody afraid? Who is preempting what? Is it a kind of paranoia, or what is it that we want to tell us? So I think in Cameroon, there is a fear about something. You realize when it started with the alliances, early this year, of the PT and the APC, that's APC of Olivier Billet and APC of Ninche, and we started getting some kind of, in behavior that is not, to me, not human, where you say two structured and authorized parties cannot come together in an alliance, and somebody wrote a letter and said, he has dissolved this alliance that you people are bringing. Yeah. I saw something coming. That was the beginning of something, and this is where we are getting ourselves into. And this is just, a sign mark of what is going to happen next year. I am already telling my good friend Senior Barrister, that you people should tighten your belts. Because you may even go out there to campaign, and they will tell you that you are causing public disorder. So we need to be very careful. What happened to Kofi will happen to voila. So we should be very careful. Don't think that it happened only to that person. It is a time for us now, because there are certain things that come to create an awareness to all of us to sit up and say that you thought that this is not for me. It is now happening to you. There is a song we say, what I was hearing, I'm now seeing. Please, it is a time. The SDO, because sometimes motivational speakers, they say, take some advantage in disadvantage. And this is a disadvantage. We should take an advantage of it. Let us find out and dig into it and know exactly what the SDO of Fundi is afraid of. Because we will start from there. Now, fear is a sign of defeat. It already says that somebody is afraid of something coming next year. Because we have had all these utterances, all these rhetorics all along the 5 years running. And I mean, we were okay with that. We were okay with that. But this that they are pinpointing and saying how people are making utterances on TV. If you don't make utterances on TV, you make it where? In your bedroom. It is only on TV that you can talk about something.
Yeah, but we should do it responsibly.
Really, that is true, and that is why I say that we are only free under the law. That is clear. That you cannot say you are totally free, because even in heaven there is no freedom. So I think that, but saying that somebody shouldn't say something which is his right to say it, it is still a crime, because it is like suppressing the emotions of people. People have a lot of things in their bellies and they want to air out, and simply air out peacefully without any violence, and then you come and tell people. It is just like some people, people organizing their meetings, political meetings, and you come and tell them, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot give you an authorization because it is I'm preempting or I'm preventing public disorder. Public disorder has no court. That has not yet a court. You say you want to prevent public disorder. What nonsense! The point is, what is the rule of the law and order? That because in democratic countries we see that when a meeting is organized, you send security officials to guide it and guard it. That is what happens.
Doctor, you could see have passed that message through without adding nonsense, describing as nonsense. The message will still go through. The question now is, it is true, it has been broadened, because when the president of the National Communication Council comes out now, it spreads across the nation, and then the minister also spreads it across the nation. Because I was going to ask that, okay, these intentions that should not be expressed in Yaoundé, how does an order like that also preempt that from happening in Douala, in Kongsamba, and others?
You know, Mr. Leo, in relation to
the SU orders applies in Marwa or in Garwa?
No. His orders actually are in his jurisdiction of operation.
Yes.
And you know what is funny about it is the fact that he is a public worker where the president of the republic is. Okay. So in one way or the other, for him, he's struggling to protect the president. He does not want that a lot of disorder should be brought, and might be they end up affecting the president. But Mr. Leo, I will say to an extent there are certain things that we do that seems to be like jokes, but they are actually announcing something.
Okay.
I think that if I can actually relate what the SGO said with what the Minister of Territorial Administration said during the annual governors meeting, you see there is something in it. So I think he is taking the responsibility to speak to those who are in his area of command, because the people that were mentioned in the minister's comments actually are found in his jurisdiction. One lives in Bastos. So you end up Santa Opera. It was clear in that message. So you get to realize that he was already still emphasizing on the message of the minister from his outing. So he is practically not speaking to everybody, from what I can now understand. He's speaking to some particular individuals
that they could be expelled
from Yaoundé, because these individuals, in one way or the other, had come out on TV and said something, or in their different outing, and one even So with that, I think this is a direct message targeting some particular individuals based on their former outing. And so trying to generalize it might also mean trying to put the so-called communique out of context. So I would think that even though that particular outing still goes against the law, he has seen fire burning somewhere, because people have already promised hell and brimstone. So in relation to that, he needs to be preparing the ground.
That was where I wanted us to end. Yeah. That this message could be perceived as spoken to everybody, but when you follow what the minister has said, and everything is targeted. Is it targeted? Because when they say they could cause somebody to leave
his jurisdiction.
Yes. And you all have said here that we have been speaking, people have been speaking. Why now? Is it not all a direct response to that video? Yeah.
It is a direct response.
Mr. Leo, I see this prefectural order as a litmus test. Because they are testing the ground. If the reaction is favorable, then all the other SDOs will do the same. So we should be very careful with this. I want to emphasize again that that order is illegal. The law on maintenance of law and order does not give the SDO or even the DO any power to expel anybody. On the contrary, section 2 at the end of it, sub 5, says that he can take measures to detain persons for a renewable period of 15 days. 15 days to fight banditry. To fight banditry. It's not just this detention is to fight banditry. It is not for disturbing public law and order. In order to fight banditry. That is what the law says. So that even in the case of disturbing public law and law and order, he has no right to detain somebody. If that person is not, if that other measure is not geared towards fighting banditry. Now, it is only foreigners who need a resident permit. Because if you generalize this thing as this man is doing, it looks like Cameroonians will now need Mr. SDO to authorize them to stay in Yaoundé or to leave Yaoundé, thereby subjecting Cameroonians to a permit system which exists only for foreigners. We are reminding him that the law on maintenance of public order is inferior to the constitution.
Yeah, but
it's inferior to constitution.
But nowhere is mentioned made in the outing of the senior divisional officer that persons
can be expelled.
Persons should ask for permit.
No. It says that he can expel them. So if he can expel them, it means that
on a condition.
What condition or no condition? If he has power to expel, it means that he has powers to authorize them to enter. That I say is only obtainable against foreigners, because under our constitution, the preamble of the constitution, Cameroonians have the right to move freely inside the country. Nobody has any permission to say go here or don't go here. It is only in the criminal procedure code that within the provisions of judicial surveillance provided by section 246, the court can restrict somebody from going to a place.
Senior Barrister.
Yes, sir.
You say you are going to be the next president of the country.
Yes, sir.
Would you clap for people who are asking for, calling for uprisings against
institutions? I said that authorize the state council to prosecute them. Allow the state council to prosecute. Why are they not prosecuting these people? Why? Why are they not prosecuting them? It is not a minister's business. It is not an SGO's business. It is a breach of the law. allow justice to take its course.
Maybe the justice system is not doing their job. So he is
sending
a strong.
Sir, you know that we have had cases.
A strong message.
We have had cases in this country where the head of state asked, when asked why he didn't prosecute somebody, he said it depends on what I was told. Which tells you clearly that prosecution in certain cases must come from him. So that is why I'm saying they should authorize the state councils, allow the state councils to do their work.
Yeah, but if they are not doing the work.
If a state council wants to go and arrest some big gun who has protection in the government, do you think they allow him to do so? They should authorize this people. I'm telling Mr. Leo, if the state councils are given the powers, even by telephone, you will see what will happen. We don't need all these speeches.
Well, okay.
Give them the powers and you see what will happen.
When they say Article 2, these measures does not apply to persons detained in remand center. What does it mean?
Total nonsense, because a person detained is not him. He is not the one detaining the person. It is penitentiary administration that is detaining the person upon a judicial order. So it's a person is detained because he has infringed the law. It is a different system that is what is he talking about? That's why I tell you that this man is giving himself the right to expel people, which means that he can authorize you to enter or not to enter, which is wrong. No law in Cameroon gives him such powers. We have to make him understand so.
Yeah, but how do we, irrespective of whether the senior divisional officer is right or not, because I'm sure he has been an administrator for so long, and I'm not sure he's just mad to get into doing what he's doing. How do we also get some of you guys to be really civil? Because whether you like it or not, there are some guys. There are guys who spend time insulting. You come to a TV program instead of educating, you insult from start to finish.
I think that is the weakness of the opposition in Cameroon.
Okay. CPDM does it here. I was insulted by CPDM.
Yeah. That is a weak. I want to say it's a weakness. It is a weakness of opposition in Cameroon because they do not find time. They do not. Build on constructing for that cohesion, for that party development. At one moment they feel lacking, and the only thing somebody who lacks to do is who is lacking does is that he makes a lot of noise. It's just like they say, an empty calabash makes a lot of noise. When there's water in it, you don't hear any noise. And that is what is happening. So the opposition parties should spend a lot of time in internal building and construction, so that when election periods is coming, it is not the time for you to start insulting Pobia or insulting Elekam or insulting whosoever. Because whether you insult Pobia or insult Elekam, it will not change anything in what they are supposed to do. But what can change in what they're doing is their grassroots mobilization. This is what is happening. Because, it's only a person who is hungry that gets so vexed suddenly and fast. So I think that political parties and even civil society organization who we are lacking in our responsibility and our job. And that if we spend time building, if we spend time developing, if we spend time actually bringing about, to bring into fruition what we stand for, I think that this issue of insults will stop. People have come up to settle scores, and that in Cameroon, people think that it is vulgar language that compensates them. Now, I've even also noticed something when it came to Anglophone crisis here, which also links to what they are writing, the SDO and the minister are writing. I realized that Anglophones who come on set and insult Ewane are better favored by I don't know who. It means that when you are too violent and actually you are too insultive of the Yaoundé administration, it is when you are favored. And many of our colleagues, panelists, have gone into that lane, have gone into that, taken that route, which is not the right way to do. You should be objective. I remember I've had a number of cases whereby somebody would write to you and tell you, go on this panel, say that to you. You should be able to expose those people. You should be able to expose those people. Talk. I said, but what are you talking about? Are we on the panel to fight? We are not on a panel to win a battle. We are on a panel to educate. We are on a panel to edify. I've also heard from our colleagues, panelists who will go and say, I showed you on a panel. I showed you. I asked myself, did you come on the panel to be able to show someone to win a kind of an argument with a co-panelist? Those are some of the instincts that push people. I mean, that inadvertently they go on actually uttering words that are not supposed to utter. Of course, we know that sometimes the tongue can slip off and you say certain things. But when they become too recurrent, now you realize that it is premeditated and it's intentional. So I think if that letter is coming, we didn't say clearly here, that letter is going to the opposition and the main frontline opposition, MRC and the PSRN. We have to say this, and we have heard from the minister. I'm quoting this because the minister during the regional governors meeting talked about that and called names. So I have the largest to call names. That letter is meant for them, and that they need to be very careful. And it is like, you know, sometimes when a dog wants to impregnate his mother, he starts by waxing the tongue and licking, and one day it happens, you know. So we need to know that this is like throwing, a little bit of stones and actually testing the waters to see what is going to happen. And if nothing is done, if all the political parties do not come out to say that no, they are only exercising their own political rights, but that in exercising their political rights, please be on the safer side and be on the right side. And if other people just sit and say because the political parties in Cameroon are fighting themselves instead of fighting to gain power, because they are fighting themselves, when it happens like to other political parties, others are very happy. You know, we have had that in Cameroon where when a party like the Kamtos and others were in prison, others were very happy. I think that it is a time for solidarity. This is a time for solidarity, that a letter like this comes out. Political parties are supposed to also come out and with press releases and say and show their solidarity. If they are aiming at the same thing, but my worry is that not all political parties are going in the presidency or want to rule Cameroon. Others have selfish and ulterior motives. Others are lobbyists. Others are, I don't know, business people. They want to take contracts. But if we are looking at the same way of the president to save Cameroon, to salvage Cameroon from this ill, from this malaise, from this maltreatment, of course, all of us know that Cameroonians are suffering. But I don't think that Cameroonians will suffer to the extent whereby they will go up to the streets and destroy what they have built. We have been condemning what has been happening with the Anglophone crisis, where people go and destroy what will take years to build. And I think we have learned a lesson. We have really learned a lesson. And that lesson that we have learned from the Anglophone crisis, we will not want to repeat that lesson again.
Okay. David Nya is watching from Lagos, Nigeria. Lum Emelda is watching from Yaoundé. Papa G. Elect Great says, I'm watching from Bomakaboya. Neris Nzela Monu is watching from Kumbu. Herbert Konyu says, okay. Shifu Nagi Bula is watching from Boya. Toko Joseph is watching from Chang, the town of unbelievable happenings. Alex Mokam is okay. Chance Kebe Bright is watching from Kumba. Harrison Tafili is watching from Bafus. Sam Gala Clifford is watching from Bamenda. Biruya Portia is watching from Achak Tugi. Eka Zita is watching from Mutengene. Munsen Philip is watching from Muyuka. Ako Prince is watching from the Center region. Horacetima Tabi is watching from Yaoundé. Ngoe Nicolas is good evening, is watching from Bubakundu. Fang Francis Neville is watching from Bamenda. Chop Freddy is watching from Tambesi Kwata Maltunkwen, Bamenda. Bon Njio Lizette is watching from Douala. Wasa is watching from Isokolo, that's in Limbe. Ngoran Rene is watching from Bingo in Com. Sunjo Sharon is watching from Douala. Kweche Emmanuel is watching from Mutenge. Ne Felicitas Mbeng is watching from Kumbu. Ngala Evelyn Bongbimi is watching us from Yaoundé. I greet you all in the studio. In my point of view, looking at the issue of some people getting huge envelopes to get themselves enrolled into professional institutions, whereas there is meritocracy roam the streets. Okay, Suika Marcel Fonye is watching online inside the train going to Ngaoundéré. Wow. DJ Ebenezer is watching here in Bamenda. So please, when is GC results publishing? Okay. Kadewo Ajaratu is watching us from Yaoundé. Say still waiting for my birthday, which is on your top farm. Okay, Kadewo Ajaratu, can you just write me after the program? I did not know I had to celebrate you on my page. Hanan Jombe is watching from Limbe. Ngwaso Waters Bafut. Mong Nune NS Ngwan is watching from Yaoundé. Governor Abaye Clinton is watching from Bafoussam. Flexi Malik Vistin is watching from Douala. Elvis Windum is watching from the United Arab Emirates. Bekili Febu is watching us from Mutengene. Kalem Kenneth is watching from Benakuma. Wow, that is in Menchum Valley subdivision. I'm watching from Yaoundé 7. More Chai writing there. Rainier Dakie is watching from Bingo. Odeting is watching from Bamenda. Nuchak Simon is watching from Bamenda. Buba Umaru is watching from Garwa. Valerie Fonyo is watching from Melon. Etia Eric Kum is watching from Yaoundé. Kalista Nje is watching from Bamenda. Kenneth Wilderman is watching from City of Bafoussam. Marvin Ba is watching from Kumba. Che Bridget is watching from Bafoussam. Adam City is watching from Sam Indu. Clovis Tita is watching from Tico. We have to end at this juncture. Thank you for coming, Prof. Mark.
Thank you for receiving me here.
Should I add the title Apostle?
If you add it, it's still okay.
Thank you for coming, Doctor.
Thanks so much, Mr. Leo. Permit me again to extend greetings to all the Fonts of Noni. They are 10 in number.
Wow.
And I want to praise God for them and ask them to continue to unite the people, you know. When the unity starts from the palace, it is sustainable. And I think that as they've on this good fortune to bring the Noni people together, I wish that this continues. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for coming, Senior Barrister.
Thank you, Mr. Kum, for giving us the opportunity. I want to ask Cameroonians to have confidence in themselves. Take advantage of the remaining days to go register massively and let nobody intimidate you, because there's no person capable of disrupting elections throughout southern Cameroon. They may succeed in certain areas, but they cannot succeed throughout southern Cameroon. So please, mobilize well and register to choose your people. And those who are in the bushes, please, come meet us. We have space. We can put you inside the councils. We can put you in councils. Yes. My party is on the ground. Please come approach us. We'll give you space. That's better than fighting with guns.
Okay. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to you, Desmond and Eli, for production, and to you all for watching. We on this platform, we are asking nobody to go violent. We have to respect. The Bible says that all authority on this earth is established by God. So we should respect. We should respect institutions. We should respect hierarchy and everything. I am sure that I'm the boss here. I also expect respect. I'm not just one that any day I come, people are talking to me anyhow, yes, because they have democracies and. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Good night. My birthday is coming. My birthday is coming up, and I'm hosting people in Douala. I've announced on my page that I really want to meet my followers, those who have been following me on Prime Hour and those on my page. I want to have a meal with them. So if you would want to meet with us, just let me know. At the end of this program, I will get you into the group. So thank you for watching. Bye-bye.